Welcome to private and public addresses. So what are private and public IP addresses? A private IP address is an IP address which cannot be used on network devices outside a local network organization. They cannot be routed outside a local network, so they need or they require a layer 3 device to perform network address translation operations to convert it to a public IP address. So the difference between the private and the public IP address is that the private is used within a local network environment, and the public IP address, which entails other addresses besides the private addresses, are used on devices in the public domain or internet. So we have three classifications of private IP version 4 addresses, and we also have a special one called the loopback. So class A is a range of 10.0.0.0 to 10.255.255.255. Class B, a range of 172.16.0.0 to 172.31.255.255. And class C is 192.168.0.0 to 192.168.255.255. While we have the loopback address, which is 127.0.0.1. So the loopback address is a special IP address that is used just to test your network card to see that it's performing the way it's meant to perform. So it's used mostly for troubleshooting a network. While class A, class B, and C private IP version 4 addresses are used within local network. So let's look at this network diagram, and we can see that the private addresses are used within the network. So we can see that this is a network. Maybe we can call this network 1 with the IP address of 192.168.10.0, and we can see that it takes an IP range of 192.168.10.1 to 254. So the other end, by the right, we also have another network that uses 10.10.4.0 network with the /24 subnet mask notation, and we can see the devices below in the same subnetwork of the router that is within the local network. So outside the networks, we have the link between the two routers, and we can see that a public network IP address has been used. 203.10.10.0 network has been used to connect the routers. So the idea is that if any of these devices is to communicate with devices outside the network, that is beyond the router, it will need to have NAT configured on the router to deploy a public IP address that can be used within the internet. But locally, it relates with other network components and devices with its local IP address. So that's the basic difference between private and public IPs.